Well, greetings, Desert Hills Bible Church. In this Easter season, we've been looking at and meditating on the 7 sayings of Jesus from the cross. And today we're going to be looking at the saying that's in Matthew 27, verses 45 and 46. It says, "Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani? That is, my God, why have you forsaken me?" So Jesus cries out here in Aramaic, which is then translated for us. This has been called the cry of dereliction, as Jesus has the wrath of God being poured out on him as he bears the weight of our sins. And this saying reminds us of 2 things. First, it reminds us that the crucifixion is part of God's plan. It's not an accident. In one sense, it is the greatest tragedy in the history of mankind as the Son of God is brutally murdered at the hands of sinners. But at the same time, it's also the greatest triumph in history because it's all part of God's plan from eternity past to secure salvation for believers. And this is evidenced by the fact that the Old Testament prophesies of the sufferings of the Messiah. And Jesus calls our attention to that by quoting from one of these prophecies. He's quoting from Psalm 22, verse 1, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And the entirety of Psalm 22 is really a prophecy of the sufferings of the Messiah. It's written by David in the first person, but it's looking ahead as if it's a first-person account of Jesus on the cross. And we see other details in that psalm, such as they divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. We also see the detail that they pierced my hands and my feet. And all these things, again, just remind us that this is part of God's predetermined plan. And then the second thing it reminds us of is that Christ didn't just suffer physically on the cross, but he suffered spiritually. It points us to the fact that God's wrath was poured out on him. And it tells us in Isaiah 53 that the Lord crushed him, that it pleased the Lord to crush him. And so, of course, the physical sufferings of Christ are tremendous. We think about the agony of crucifixion and the crown of thorns and the beatings, but we also have to keep in mind the spiritual sufferings as Jesus bears our sins on the cross. And as he became sin for our behalf, the Lord crushed him. He poured out his wrath upon him. And we can't even begin to wrap our minds around what that cost him. So as we meditate on this saying of Jesus, let us keep in mind, again, first of all of this is part of the predetermined plan of God, and also that it cost him tremendously. I love the words of a modern worship song that says, "I'll never know how much it cost to see my sin upon that cross."